Warriors, good Whipsaw Wednesday to everybody. Start off with the dollar. So we had this little bounce. I don't know if we're going to hold here. I actually think that we're going to start pressing these lows. And, we could be underneath the low of the move, which is 97.5 by early next week, although, we do have NFP. But, still no reason that I can see to bottom pick, had a little rally. But you can see, one of the reasons I was bearish was because of the confirmed low you had on the daily. I think you also did on the 4 hour. So look at the RSI up here now. So as we start making new lows, which can come in, I don't know. Originally I was talking 6.5, and now I'm thinking 5 or so. The daily RSI will not, in my view, unless it's a crash. And I just think this is the final push before we have, even if you're a dollar bear, a big bear market rally. You could tell that the RSI is not going to confirm. So it's setting up, but still be patient. As I said yesterday, if you booked it, you booked it, but you had the ability to trail stops. I still think you could trail stops above this high. That's where it was contained on the 4 hour. And there's some moving averages here. So closes back over par might change the picture a little bit. But for right now, unless the NFP is a blockbuster, doesn't look likely to me. Canada is breaking down. Okay, so Canada's leading it. I think that we could see eventually 134. Some guys have real long-term trend lines on Canada that we're about to break. And I thought, besides forecasting different moves in the market, that we could have a little lesson. It's really basic technical trading 101. And I'm going to use the Aussie as the example. We bought the Aussie a couple weeks ago, and then there was an add-on signal in the Aussie. That's Aussie Kiwi. Once we took out 4.5, let me drill down. Okay, so the trade was to add on over 4.5. We took partials up here. Look at this pullback. Right back to old resistance becomes new support. Aussie's looking pretty good. We're going to take this high out, and then maybe we'll have a 1, 2, 3, but 6, another 100 pips or so, I think is still likely here. That should also lead to a lower Canadian dollar. So the Aussie is your example of once you know you have a breakout area. So it did take it out on the pullback by, what's a low there? 44. What's a low here? 47. So, pretty much held old support. And now we're on our way up. So that's the way you trade something. Old resistance is new support. Old support becomes new resistance overhead. All right, so want to talk a little bit about that. Pretty much covers currencies. Uh, we'll see if the euro can take out these highs. I think that it's going to be able to do it. And I want to give you an update on our longs from down here in euro pound. Here's another example. That old support held no resistance. I'm looking for up towards 86 before this is over, which is really just a correction in euro pound, right? So I'm not talking about new highs in euro pound. That's over, 87.5. But I could see a fib retracement back to 86. And this is going to be a real important point because if the euro is making new highs and the dollar's making new lows, but euro pound is not taking out this high, that's going to be a tell that the run on the dollar could be completing by not confirming with the euro pound. If we blow through 87.5, that's a different story, but that's not my expectation. I think we could have new highs in euro, new lows in the dollar, and lower highs in euro pound, which is going to be another indicator for me to start looking around for a bottom in the dollar. Everyone with me on that? Give me a Y if you are. All right, just a quick look at S&Ps. We are up. I believe we're into this third drive is starting to happen here on the S&Ps. There you go. So we haven't quite taken out this high, but you can see we're diverging there. NASDAQ was a little stronger. Looks like it's going to be a three drive. S&Ps look weaker. So be careful with your longs, especially with some of the MAGA stocks. I'd be pretty careful with what's happening with Apple. Still no trip to Hollywood. Amazon, I don't know. Keeps moving sideways for about 2 weeks. Could go either way. Meta's up strong today. That's a new high. We could end up with a divergence if we fail. And look at Netflix. See how we have this higher highs, higher highs. We're making another higher high here in Netflix. And look, we're not even over 70. I would go to Prime and start streaming another channel. This is just an accident waiting to happen, in my opinion. Um, NVIDIA, we could get this third drive here in NVIDIA, and I'm getting a little pop in Uber, which is fine with me because I was looking for some type of rally towards 87 and 88 to 90 to recommit to puts. Looking for, still think 62 is viable. I'm wrong if we get back over the throwover. Uh, this is the line. I probably messed up. So that looks like that may have been the throwover line. Let me just go to daily. In fact, let's go to. So I know it's not Uber's not that sexy, but with what the market's done in the last week or so, there really hasn't been too many sharp down days. This was over 10% correction, so I'm looking to sell a failing rally up here in Uber. I'm a little bit surprised Iran did not accept the deal, and crude is, still making me have to be patient. I've been patient this long. I'll continue to be. Nat gas, I wouldn't mind if nat gas had one more washout to 260, but this is a higher low from here and a higher low from here. I didn't buy it just in case the Widowmaker tries to put, some more husbands in the grave down here at 260, and that's where I'll be a buyer. And I think that's about it. Oh, and I do want to just talk about the grains again. Um, I think you got to own them. Everyone got real bearish with the tariffs. The farmers, they're even getting subsidies in the big, beautiful bill. And it may turn out that um, crop prices go up because of some weather event. We're entering this period where extreme heat can be a problem. They've had a ton of rain. I just think that the grains are the cheapest commodities on the board. They're very unloved. You have that whole news backdrop of tariffs and China not buying our beans and going to Brazil. But even if they go to Brazil, just like oil is fungible, so are grains. So if there's a supply growing problem here in the U.S., prices can still go up even though they're buying elsewhere. So start paying attention to the grains. That's going to be a wrap. My interview with the Pivot King has been moved to Friday at 10:30 a.m. When Steve and I were on last time, the title of the show was "Even Gold Bulls Hate the Miners," and that was, just show you where we were on that show. See what Steve thinks. if he thinks we're going to get a continuation on it. But this was GDX. This is where GDX was when Steve and I were last together to talk about markets. Um, Here, see that dot? Okay, so back here, no one wanted a miner. They were bullish gold. They were right to be bullish gold, but they were just worn out trying to buy miners. Now I think the miners, you look at this on the weekly, we're diverging. We could be getting close to where we could get some type of correction. I know we're in kind of a parabolic blow-off stage, but um, look how much a movement it took in gold for GDX to make a new high. And in the meantime, look at Newmont. I'm not saying it's not going to make a new recovery high, but this is a second lower high. And then even the silver, we're with a great move in silver, and we probably should take out this 15 level, but we're not there yet. And then you look at AG, looking great, nice base, still has to get through 8, but we're not making new highs. And then some of the juniors were diverging there. And look how far Endeavor is off the highs with what silver is. So you can't just blindly buy miners. You have to look at relative strength as far as what your trade selection is. Here's another example. If you were looking for the explosion in silver, all you've gotten is this out of Hecla. So discriminate, do due diligence, or maybe just go with an ETF so someone has already done it. That's what SILJ is. So that's a wrap. Good hunting today. I'll be back tomorrow. Looks like the dollar's back in gear to head lower, and we should start to crack. This is the low of the move, and this was a 4, and now we're in 5. We could be at lows in another, I expect maybe by the end of the month, maybe next week. Let's see what happens over the weekend. And why don't you leave a comment? What kind of lesson you might want me to cover, or some of the things that I talk about. And then on my next video, maybe even tomorrow, I could go over it because if you individually have a question, I guarantee you many viewers have the same one. So this can not just be, a kind of a what they call those tip sheet at the track. It could also be a learning process for you as we go through the markets every day. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Good hunting. See you in the room. Adios.